Okay, so we're going to look at a 2017 production budgeting question now, folks. And it's important that you guys have the question open in front of you. And I've got some of the numbers filled in here, but I'm going to show you where each of the numbers comes from. And we're going to talk through the question. So if you want to take a moment to set up part A and indeed part B as it appears on the screen, you can always pause the video. So it says, O'Sullivan Limited recently completed its annual sales forecast for the end of to the end of 2018. It expects to sell two products: a basic at 260 and a deluxe at 340. Now, the next sentence is really important throughout the question. It says all stocks are to be reduced by 10% from their opening levels by the end of 2018. And they're valued at the first in, first out method, the FIFO method. What that means is any closing stock in this question is going to be 10% less than the corresponding opening stock. They will give you the opening stock numbers, and then 10% less will be the closing stock. And then it gives you the expected sales for the products. It gives you the opening stocks of finished goods, and we've just spoken about how to get the closing stocks. It tells you how much of raw material A and B in kilos and how much labor in hours it takes to make a basic or a deluxe product. It tells you about the opening stocks of raw materials and the price of them. That's how much those kilos were bought for last year. And again, we know how to get the closing stock on that, 10% less. It tells you about the raw material prices during this year. And then finally, it tells you about the skilled labor rate. We expect to pay our staff €50 per hour. And there are production overhead costs, variable overheads of €8 per hour, and a fixed overhead of 322,300. Part A of the question asks you to do a production budget, which essentially is saying calculate how many of these things we need to make to satisfy our sales expectations. So therefore, you set it up a little bit like this, where you have sales with the basic. You intend to sell 1,800 basic products. Now, opening stock, you can subtract 50 because, I'll actually put that in as a minus 50, because you do not need to produce those. If they're opening stock, they're already sitting there. However, you do need to produce your closing stock. Now, closing stock is going to be 10% less than opening stock. So 10% less than 50 is 45. And that means you get 1795. That's a really key number throughout the whole question. So it's important we get this right at the start. Likewise, the opening stock of deluxe products is 60. We need to reduce or minus that because we do not need to produce that. But we do need to produce the closing stock, and the closing stock is 10% less than that, which is 54. And that is part A of the question done. We need to produce 1795 basics and 1494 deluxe products. And there's actually 12 marks. We're getting part A done there, really easy. Now, part B then, I've color coordinated this to make sure that people can see the correlation. But part B is going to ask you the raw materials and what is required. So, in order to make a basic product, I'm just going to read horizontally here, but in order to make a basic product, you need 5 kilos of material A, and you need 3 kilos of material B, and that is coming directly from the center box in the question. So therefore, if we want to make 1795 basics, we take 1795 and we multiply it by 5 kilos to get this, and we multiply it by 1795 by 3 kilos of material B. And those are the totals of material A and B for basic products. And then you take your 1494, which is green, and it's 1494 by 7, according to the question, for material A, and by 6, according to the question, for material B. And when you get those two things, you add them up, and this is how much of A and B we will be looking for. However, we must factor in that we have opening stock and closing stock. Opening stock of raw material A is 3,000 kilos. We need to subtract that because, of course, if we have that sitting in our warehouse, we do not need to buy it. But we do need to buy the closing stock, which is 2,700. That is 10% less. That gives you 19,133 kilos is required. And we're multiplying that by the price per kilo, which the question advises us is €5, to get 95,665. Let's do the same for the material B. The opening stock of material B is 2,000. We'll subtract that. But we'll add on the closing stock, which we do require to produce, which is 1,800. That costs us €6 per kilo. And when you multiply that out, that's going to give you 84,894. You combine A and B together to get this number here. Let's highlight that number there. We'll probably use it later in the question. That is your total cost of raw materials. And that is part B done. However, I tend to answer a little early part of part C here. I tend to do a bit of preparatory work, so I just want to focus you in on this for a moment. This is the total labor cost. We'll use this further down the question, but the total labor cost, we know that if we pay our staff €15 per hour, it's the penultimate or the second last thing in the question. And we know, according to the middle box, that it takes 4 hours to make a basic and it takes 5 hours to make deluxe. So therefore, taking our color-coded yellow number from up here, the basic is 1795 by 4 hours by €15 wages per hour, which gives you 107,700. And then the deluxe is 1494, that same number, by 5 hours by €15 per hour. You add the two of them together and you get this here, which is your total labor cost for the whole year's production. That we're going to use in part C of the question, which we're going to have a look at right now. Now, part C of the question is talking about the overall cost of production. How much does it cost to make this thing? Well, I'm just going to highlight a few important things here. In order to make any kind of a product, you need materials, you need labor, you need variable overheads, and you may also have some fixed overheads. Those are the 4 key components in the cost of production. So we're going to treat each of those individually and we're going to see if we can add these things up. Okay, so with our materials now, we're going to have to do opening stock plus purchases, take away closing stock, because this is a cost of sales situation now. So therefore, given in the question, material A, you're told that your opening stock is 3,000 kilos at €4.50. And you're told that your opening stock of material B is 2,000 at €5.50. You multiply both of those out to get 13,500 and 11, and you add them together. Your opening stock of raw materials is 24,500. The purchase of raw materials, that is the answer to part B up here. Let's make that blue as well so we can correspond with what we've just done. And then you're taking away the closing stock. Now, where do you get that closing stock? Well, we know that the figures are 10% less. So that is 3,000, take away 10% is 2,700. And the price during the year, the expected price, I'm referring to the second last box now on the page. The expected price for raw materials during the year are €5 per kilo, and €6 per kilo, for A and B respectively. So it's 2,700 by 5, and it's 1,800, 10% less than opening stock, by 6, and you multiply that out. And then you do your opening stock plus purchases, take away closing stock to give you your cost of raw materials used, 180,759. You add on this labor figure, which you have worked out in the preparation that you did before you started Part C. I'm referring back to this number up here, 219,750. You could do that calculation within Part C, there's no problem with that. And then you're going to do a very similar calculation for variable overheads. The variable overheads are again per hour, but it is €8 per hour. So it is 1795 by 4 hours by 8 for the basic, and it is 1494 by 5 hours by 8 for the deluxe. You combine the two of these together to get 117,200. And then finally, fixed overheads are given to you directly. And then you add together these four numbers. Your cost of raw materials used, how much you have to pay your staff, how much you have to cover in variable overheads, and how much you have to cover in fixed overheads. And the total cost of manufacturing here is 840,009. We're going to have a look at part D, which is a little bit tricky, and there's an extra bit in it in the next bit. Thank you for watching.